Let's get to the man, though, that we love getting on the show, and that is the governor of the current state, or the great state of North Dakota, Governor Kelly Armstrong. Governor, good to have you on.
Current state? Do you know something I don't know? Somebody coming after us?
I think so. I think we're in trouble, Gov. I'm just telling you right now. It's touch and go. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Everybody is speculating on why you couldn't wait a couple of months to deal with this issue. And so to call a special session. And so I'm just going to ask you, is there something in your life or close to you personally or somebody important in your life personally that caused you to say this ends and this ends now? I mean, what motivated you to do this right ahead of what isn't too far away, which is a legislative session?
I don't want to be flippant about it, but because I was in law school the day they taught law, it's not a couple months, it's a year. And we can do a lot of things in this office. We have and there's a second part, which this might be a little longer. I can do the emergency order. I can schedule kratom as a Schedule I drug in North Dakota. What I cannot do is put any form of regulation other than to businesses in it. I can do a lot of stuff behind my desk. I can't create new crimes. Banning the synthetic stuff is, I think, the easy part. Putting it in code where law enforcement can enforce it, where businesses have a clear line of what it is. And if you're possession with intent, the same way you do it with any other drug, that has to be legislative. And it's not a couple months, it's a year. I mean, if you don't get an emergency clause on any of these bills, they don't go into effect until next August. So if we're going to take the step that the DEA is doing, that the Pharmaceutical Board is recommending that we do, we cannot put everybody on the ground who is in charge of enforcing this in absolute legal limbo for a year. It's bad policy. It's not fair to cops. It's not fair to businesses, and it's not fair to the people who are doing this. And you got to create a scenario of law enforcement where we don't make an 18-year-old kid a felon in September for something he could buy legally in July.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a second part.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a second part. The second part is I think there's going to be a real debate on natural kratom, and you've seen a lot of that come up. I personally am a little skeptical of anything that is an absolute wonder drug. But the other part to this is the vast majority of products that are out there that are being marketed as kratom are not kratom. They're synthetics. They're MGM-15, they're MGM-16, and they're 7-OH. So once we decided that the order was going into place, there is no way I was going to wait up to a year to allow law enforcement to actually enforce regulating a drug that we have determined to go into a Schedule I as a Schedule I. Schedule I means there's no medical purpose, and it's online with heroin and cocaine. We have to have the enforcement mechanism.
Okay, well, then let me throw this at you. You are in the majority party. You're the governor of the great state of North Dakota. You've got way more friends than enemies in the last legislative session, and you didn't get it done. I mean, the ball got dropped. Are those Republican legislators that you're looking at now saying, look, you've got to get this done. I'm calling you back to town. Are they wiser now? Have they done more homework now? It was all available to them last session where it wouldn't have cost the people in our... Yeah, the bill was there, Governor.
No, not all of this was there. It has blown up a lot significantly. And I think this is, I didn't know those bills. Those bills got heard early in January. I think there are a lot of people. I am not casting stones on any of them because I didn't know about it in January. And I've been kind of wired in this space my entire adult life. The closest thing it reminds me to is bath salts, when we had to deal with bath salts basically 12 years ago, that nobody knew what they were. And then all of a sudden, everybody is utilizing them, and it blows up and goes overtime. So, there was a bill last session, and we didn't know about it during the special session either. So I can't blame anybody for that because quite frankly, I didn't as well.
Okay, while we can disagree on that, what I'm going to throw at you next is I've been through a special session, and the doors open up. I mean, the gates are open. There are individuals that are going to bring separate issues. We heard of it yesterday or the day before. I think it was the day before. We were speaking with and about legislation that Senator Tim Mathern is putting forth when it comes to data centers, which is, give it a 1-year moratorium and at the very least have a bill in that does what you called for on this show, which is no political subdivision signing a non-disclosure agreement. Will you support those bills going forward in the special session?
I'm here to deal with kratom. I think people should be a little careful when they start saying what is more important and more time sensitive. One of these is killing young adults in North Dakota. The other one is not. That's simple. When I did the emergency order, the legislature has the ability to call themselves back in. I had two choices. I could request they do that, but then in order for the bill to be effective immediately, it needs a 2/3 vote. I thought that wasn't worth the risk, so I said I will call them in. The downside to me calling them in is because we can't limit the session to anything. So delayed bills will work. They will go through what they do, and good policy is good policy whenever it comes up, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to concentrate on getting the synthetics banned and have a real debate about whether we should be selling kratom at all in the state of North Dakota.
But there's 47 senators and there's 94 House members, and a lot of them are going to be sitting around waiting to vote. They're not going to be in a committee unless they sit there as a spectator. They're just basically going to vote. If it was just held to kratom, it'd be one vote, and the process takes 3 days, as you know.
I think it'll be 2 or 3 votes on kratom, but
okay. But you know what I'm getting at here. What I'm getting at is there's a lot of people sitting there on their hands, been there, done that, and so if they want to work in certain other areas, such as non-disclosure agreements. To me, that's good. They're there. Do some work. Have the debate. And then in the end, you have a vote. I mean, will you support them doing that?
I don't have a say in that. If they decide a bill gets through delayed bills and they debate it on the floor of the House and it passes and it gets to my desk, I'm not going to sign something or not signing something because it wasn't what the special session called for.
Okay, well,
I'll evaluate what it says if it gets there. If it's good policy, yes. If I disagree with it, no.
Okay. Are you or anyone working on, or have you heard about conversations in relation to hot lunch, that will be an issue as well during the special session? And if we do what we should have done as a state, and again, your party, which defeated the hot lunch program, if we do that and it ends up in front of you, the thought being that it won't end up in the Constitution, which I know you have never supported. You've been very clear on that. And so will there be, or have you heard there will be, or are you supporting an initiative on hot lunch in the special session?
I have heard there might be. No, I'm not supporting it. I think that ship has sailed. I think if you would pass with school lunches right now, you would start implementing it almost immediately. We would require every school to do that unless it was identical to what's on the ballot measure. It would be very difficult for me to put everybody through that, Joel, because I think the ballot measure is going to pass. And I don't know why I would put everybody through all of that work to do something completely different than what's going to pass on the ballot. I think they had their opportunity. I think we've had our opportunity for the last 3 sessions, and I think now it's time to let the voters decide.
Well, people always ask me as a Democrat, why I say good things about you, and right there is why I say good things about you. They've worked hard. They have to get this on the ballot. They've put it in front of the people. The legislature has had that opportunity, as you just stated, and so boom, it should get voted on.
I would caveat that if it was identical to the ballot measure, which I don't think would ever get through the legislature, then I'm not putting every local school district through implementing a brand new program that could change the second Tuesday in November. That would be the only scenario that makes any sense to me.
Well, and the other part of why that scenario would be better for me is if you had exactly what was on the ballot measure and it passed. Think of all the money, and I'm in the advertising business, so I don't mind people buying ads, but think of all the less money that's going to have to be spent going into the fall if you've got it done.
Yeah, I don't know who's spending it, but the fact that I disagree that I don't like it in the Constitution, I've been very clear about that. I am not voting for it. I'm one vote. I think there are going to be more votes in favor of it than opposed to it on the ballot.
Are there, and I've heard there's, double-digit bills that are coming forward, that some of them are quite interesting. Are any of those being shared with you by legislative leaders saying, Governor, this is coming?
No, I see it in the, in the paper, and all of those different things. I've been pretty clear with everybody. We've been working with everybody. One, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's other states that have good bills on kratom, and we're dealing with that. But I knew it when I called it instead of asking them to call it. Once they come in, they're limited by how long they want to be here, and that's it. And that, as somebody who's served in 2 legislative bodies in my political career, I appreciate that. I don't think anybody particularly needs to ask my permission. What they need to do is figure out if they have something they can get through delayed bills. And if they can do that, then they should have the debate.
Governor, this comes at you, and it would come at me as well. So let me read it to you. A text message comes in and says, alcohol is far worse and kills more than kratom. Maybe our governor should take on the alcohol establishment, unless, of course, he partakes in alcohol.
Well, I do partake in alcohol. And first of all, we can talk. You can always vote against something for what's not in it. That's the oldest game in town in any of this stuff. But here's the other thing about alcohol. You have to be 21 to buy it. You can't buy it over the counter in a gas station. My son can walk in and buy synthetic kratom anywhere. He can buy a synthetic kratom energy drink that is sold over the counter without any age requirement or any of that. I've heard that argument about fentanyl. Fentanyl is already illegal. I think the point to this is something is really, really bad, really, really addictive. It is on our radar, and I think it's incumbent upon us to deal with it.
So what is the goal in the end? Is the goal to have a policy of how you deal with kratom? The synthetic versus the organic? Is the goal to ban it? What is your goal? What do you want to see on your desk?
100%. We need all the synthetics banned. All the synthetics banned. If we are not banning natural kratom, if there are not the votes to do that, then we need to make sure there is a time, place, and manner restriction, 21 and older, just like cigarettes, just like alcohol. And we need to make sure that we have a truth in labeling and a truth in marketing issue, because a lot of this stuff right now that is being sold, you drive around, a month ago, you drive around and there's these huge kratom banners. But that's not kratom. It's the synthetics. So people don't know what they're taking. It's being marketed, and I'm not blaming people. It's just it's a completely unregulated space. So my ultimate goal is to make sure that we have the dangerous products banned. I would be comfortable with a ban on synthetics. I would be comfortable with a ban on natural. But at the very least, we have to have a ban on the synthetics and time, place, and matter restrictions and truth in labeling. I think anything less than that is unacceptable to the next generation in North Dakota.
Governor, one of the issues that's coming up here, and I think it's coming up in a lot of communities, is big government and how big government's got its eye on us. And it can do that through flock cameras. In Fargo, they're taking it on. They're going to have a protest against it. Certain car clubs are coming out and saying that this is wrong. You're a former defense attorney. You looked out, for people's privacy and their issues. Does the state of North Dakota, should it have flock cameras?
I don't love them. So I want to be clear with that right away. Whether that is a state issue or a local issue, I think is a real debate when you talk. There's two sides to big government. One, there's government surveillance, which I think is a big part of the data center debate. But the longer conversation, I think at the very least, the state could be, and I think they should be, in a at the very least, we should have pretty strict restrictions on the number of people within a department who can access those cameras. I don't like them. I think there is a tremendous amount of public benefit to knowing where everybody is at every point in time in their lives. I don't think anybody can argue that that's a public safety benefit, but it's a significant privacy cost. It is. And if you have if you don't have a policy in your department as who can utilize those things, it is just quite simply too easy in human nature to abuse it, knowing you're not going to get caught. So at the very least, I think the debate should be what kind of restrictions go into place for who on a law enforcement department would ever potentially be able to access that information. But if I sympathize with the protesters, man. I don't love the idea of having cameras everywhere we go, everywhere we are at in this country.
Well,
I don't like it.
Count me in with that. But on the devil's advocate side, don't we already have that by carrying a cell phone in our pocket?
Sure, but the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply to you, right? I mean, and it doesn't. One of my biggest. And I did this in D.C. when we talked about First Amendment violations. First Amendment doesn't. First Amendment censorship and a First Amendment violation are not always the same thing. When law enforcement does it, the Fourth Amendment applies, and the Fourth Amendment also does it. When people say it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment, it's really not, because you don't have a right to privacy on a public street. But the sentiment exists, and it is up to us as policymakers to decide how much surveillance we want on our citizenry. And if there is surveillance on our citizenry, how we set guardrails to absolutely ensure that the likelihood of abuse is as small as possible.
Governor, always good to talk to you. We need to do it even more often and for longer time. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Joel.
Governor Kelly Armstrong, who I say that, and I want to make this clear, he comes on when we ask. So it isn't like he's ducking and diving and not giving us time or anything like that. I mean, he's more than willing to come on, which I can say hasn't been true of all governors.